In 3, 2, 1. Guys, the planet is out of control. Australia is on fire. We literally had the first day in our history of the nation with no rain on the whole continent. Imagine that. Fires are burning. Our landfill's out of control. We're carving down our rainforests. We're poisoning the reefs and the ocean acidification. We've got bleaching events. We've got so many environmental issues that we're facing right now. We've got people who are taking action. We've got people who are saying there's no problem at all, and everything in between. And I'm like, you know me, I just want to cut through all the noise and go, what's really going on? What's happening on the ground? What are the real issues? And what can we actually do about it? So I thought, who do I know? Who can I connect with? Who can actually answer this? Who has some authority and who can really, just cut to the chase? So I've got the CEO of Rainforest Rescue, Branden Barber. Awesome guy. You're going to love this man. Super intelligent, great storyteller, very engaging, but really on the front line of everything that's happening in this space. And we are going to get some answers. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me give to you Branden Barber, CEO of Rainforest Rescue. Come on down.
Woo. Thanks, Pat. That's quite the intro. I'm going to try to live up to that, but let's just start small. I'm Branden. I'm the CEO of Rainforest Rescue. I'm really happy to be here with you. Thanks for inviting us to be a part of your audience, your outreach, your world, the good work you're doing.
Such a pleasure, man, and stoked that we can make the time to connect. And I know there's lots of stuff happening with Rainforest Rescue right now that we definitely want to share. And I want to hear a little bit of your story. But I also want to hear, why rainforests, and specifically why the Daintree? Why is that so important? And, the relationship between the rainforest and the reef and the endangered animals and the species and what's happening with our continent, Australia, of course. And I hear that accent there, so I know you're not from Australia, so we want to find out where you're from, what that's about, what brings you here. I know you've got Nightwing Project, we've got Lot 27, you've got a whole bunch of really interesting projects that I'm super curious to hear about. So
all right.
we got a big conversation to have. It's a big conversation to have.
Well, great. I love talking about this stuff. I think that's why I got this job. This is what I live for. So, hit me, man. What do you want to know? What can I tell you? You started us off with everything is burning and we're screwed. And I was just at the Public Lands Conservation Conference recently, which was held in Adelaide as part of the Australian Lands Conservation Alliance. There are a lot of acronyms in the world, and when I'm done saving the planet, a little bit that I've got a part of, I'm going to get rid of acronyms. But in the meantime, they started off the conference. This guy came out and said, let's just address the elephant in the room. And literally just species loss, extinction events, habitat destruction. And there's 350 people in this room. And, you could just see that everybody was just starting to. And then it was, okay, now what are we doing about it? And I was like, okay, right, now we can engage. And there's so much good work being done. And, you mentioned my accent. I've been switching between the United States and Australia for 25 years. And, getting a sense of how strong conservation is in Australia is something that everybody will gain hope and inspiration from. There are so many good organizations doing huge projects, small projects. And, you just look around you. There are plenty of private landowners who are engaged in restoration projects on their land, and they're aiming at creating a wilderness refuge on their property, protected forever. And it all adds up. But yes, there's a lot of dire, scary stuff happening, and it's good to know. It helps keep us moving, but we got to keep moving. Someone's got to
tell me, what do you see? Give me some details of some of the biggest issues that we're facing here in Australia and also globally right now. And just without the sensationalism in the media and all the rest of it, what's actually going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's pretty easy to jump to the old, climate change. But I think really the big issue that we're facing is a disconnected population from nature. I think that.
How do you mean?
We're all walking around, fixated on productivity and, I got to get my job done because I got to pay the rent because my kid needs a new phone or my kid needs to eat. I mean, it's not easy. A lot of people have it really hard and people work really hard. And, I just moved back from America after a stint, and I was really sad at how hard people had it and how hard people are working just to make ends meet. And in Australia, I'm seeing the same thing. And when you've got those kinds of pressures on you, it's hard to feel like you can do something beyond just make it through your day. And that I think is one of the biggest challenges, because we think that by voting, we are doing our civic duty to put the right people in charge to implement policies and programs to help take care of us, which means taking care of the environment as well. And we all know that that's not happening to any great degree, certainly not in the United States at the moment, and certainly not in Australia at the moment. And I think the lack of connection between people and nature is a huge issue. If anyone ever asks me, what can I do? One of the things on that list is go take your shoes off and go walk in the forest. Go walk at the beach. Just, go see Dr. Nature. You're not feeling good about things, go see Dr. Nature. And it helps. I mean, in Japan, they have this practice, a therapeutic practice they call forest bathing. Have you ever heard of that? Forest bathing? No. It's really just going into the forest and being immersed in that natural context. And they do that to feel better. And it's something that anyone who's spent any time in nature knows is accessible and it's available to us. It's just a matter of making the time to do it. And if you're struggling to make ends meet and you're in despair because you spend too much time looking at the news, which is not designed to make us happy, it's going to get you down. So between a lack of connection with nature and more of it, too much TV, too much time inside, too much time in the car, too much time in an air-conditioned room, and a lack of political will, I think those are the big issues that we're facing. And, what we do about that? Plenty of things.
Cool. We're going to come to that. I definitely want to hear solutions. But before we dive into that, tell me a little bit more about you, where you're from, and how specifically did you come to be doing this work? Because you don't get to do the work that you're doing. I mean, that's no accident. You know what I mean? Like, that's no joke. So how did this happen?
Well, it was totally accidental. No, look, I feel I'm very lucky in that, I was given a calling, for want of a better way of putting it. I was 18 years old, which was just a few years ago. And I was almost asleep. It's one of those places between wakefulness and being asleep when I had this inspiration, and I sat up in my bed and I said out loud, the planet. I need to help the planet. And I know that sounds a little silly, but that literally came through me. And the next day I changed my major from psychology to environmental studies. And ever since then, I've been focused on working for the environment. And, that was a long time ago. And I went from my degree from UC Santa Cruz to working for Greenpeace. First, I was working for Greenpeace International. I worked on the boats for a year on the MB Greenpeace and the Rainbow Warrior. My wife and I actually got to work on the Warrior together. She was the cook. And it's been one foot in front of the other working for the environment ever since. And I worked for Greenpeace. I wound up running the Greenpeace office in Victoria for a couple of years, a long time ago. And to give you an idea of when that was, I made Greenpeace's first website. Like, I saw that the web was coming, and I'd always been kind of a techie guy, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. We need a website. Hey, main office, we need a website. And they were like, what's a website? I'm like, it's one of these. It's great. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and build it. So Greenpeace Australia had the first website of any of the Greenpeace offices in the world. And I took a little time out after that to actually.
What year was that? What year was that?
1996.
Wow, that's pretty early.
I know, you weren't even born yet.
I certainly wasn't online yet.
Yeah, right. So
18 months before I got online. So.
Right. Well, anyway, I wound up going down a different path for a while. I took 6 months off, and I spent some time at a meditation retreat, and I wound up working with them to develop their website and then their electronic communication strategy, which was as simple as, okay, this is email. This is how you use it.
This is going to be a thing, guys. I promise you, this is going to be a thing.
Really invest in this. Yeah, if only, right? And then I wound up working for a startup software company in San Francisco, whom I met their president through this other work I was doing. And
back up a little bit. How did you get to Australia?
oh, all right. Well,
what's the Australian connection here?
Okay. When I got out of school, I was going to UC Santa Cruz. Great place, great place, great school. Really grateful for that. One of the first environmental studies programs in the world. And I went from there. I was going to take I had a deck certificate so I could work on boats because I'd worked in Alaska in the fisheries for a while. That is another story for another time. I also had a teaching English as a second language certificate. Yep. So I was going to travel the world teaching English and working on boats, and it worked out. Right, it's not bad. But it wound up that my father had an extra ticket to Australia because he and his girlfriend broke up. And he said, well, why don't you come to Australia with me and you can start your trip from there. So my dad and I had this great time in Australia. And then, it was magnificent. You know, we went up to the Barrier Reef and I got to see the beauty of the reef, you know, gosh, that was 1990. Yeah, that was 1996. And traveled around and met this girl, you know, early on, who was the daughter of my father's colleague. And, you know, we met in Melbourne. We talked for 4 days straight and had a blast. And then I went off with my father and we stayed in touch. And then I went back to Melbourne after my dad left to go on his other adventures. And we traveled from Melbourne to Perth. No, actually Melbourne to Adelaide. It took us 2 weeks to get to Adelaide from Melbourne. That's an 8-hour drive. And then we spent some time just seeing the South Coast. And then we wound up going to Perth because we heard that the Rainbow Warrior was going to be there and that they were potentially going to be taking on crew. So we sold the old Ford Falcon wagon, where you watch the fuel gauge go down when you drive. And wound up rocking up to the ship in Fremantle and said, hey, need any help? And they did. And it was amazing. You know, it was like a dream come true. I couldn't believe it. Like one day I'm just this kid out of college, and the next day it's as if NASA had said, we want you to be an astronaut. You know, for me to work on the Rainbow Warrior, are you kidding? That was amazing.
Yeah,
and,
it
was amazing. And
you mentioned being on the reef. I was there probably 6 years before you, 1990. I did my first PADI little scuba dive course. And I mean, that moment, I still remember so clear. I was only a young guy. It changed my life. And that was really one of the moments for me where I go, you know, it's just like another world. You know, you think you know what Earth is like, and then you go down there and it's like, whoa, man, the colors and the life and the fish and the shapes and the, you know, there's giant clams and whole schools of fish and the coral and just blew my mind. I went, you know, it's just, wow, man. And the thought now, you know, I see the bleaching events and see what's happening with the rainforest, all the runoff from the mainland and the ocean acidification, the changing temperatures, and I go, it just breaks my heart to think that there's a chance my kids won't ever have that experience. I go, that's not okay. You know, we got to do something. That's a huge driver for me, is that moment on the reef. My uncle was a chef up at Hayman Island, so we got to go and hang out and go out to the reef, and really, really special.
Yeah, wow. I'm really glad you had that opportunity. I wish more people did. And it's, you know, it's that connecting with nature at that level of wow, that changes a person's life. It was my early engagement, you know, I remember I did a course that took me up into the Colorado Rocky Mountains, and it changed my life, you know, being on a mountain peak at 16,000 feet. That's incredible. Never forget that experience. And the reef, incredible. I'm so glad you got to see that. And
16,000 meters.
Huh?
What's 16,000 feet in meters? Do you know?
That would be about 5,300 or so.
That's high.
Yeah, it was high. Yeah, not a lot of air up there.
Because the Oscar is 1,800 meters or something, so you're more than double that. That's the biggest thing we got. Way more than double that. 2.5 times that. Yeah,
no, it was pretty awesome. But it's those experiences that we have that, you know, blow our minds about the beauty and majesty of nature that connect us to not only nature, but really who we are and our place in it all. if we just did more of that, the world would be a better place. Get the politicians out of their offices, take their shoes off, and put them in the forest. That's a good first step.
Yeah. We do that every day. We're barefoot on the grass, just connect with Earth, feel it, feel the grass, feel the earth between your toes. The kids go, I got to get shoes and bindies. I'm like, we'll get around the bindies. It'll be worth it. Right?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, cool. So, I mean, that's kind of the story. We got to the Rainbow Warrior in Perth. You're off to, you know, dream come true. Beautiful woman, traveling Australia.
Yeah, it was amazing.
That's amazing.
Yep.
How did we get into, from there to now CEO of Rainforest Rescue, based down in northeast New South Wales?
Yeah, we're actually in Mullumbimby, and most of our work's up in far north Queensland. But we'll get to that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to shorten this because I've had a really interesting, varied life. So
that's some cool stuff.
So back to Australia. Ran the Greenpeace office in Melbourne. Did the website. Wound up in San Francisco. Startup software company, got into the whole .com. Wow, this is so exciting. Worked
That's
at
right.
wound up at a design studio that was just like I would skip to work. I was working with these really brilliant young creative people and working with clients like Disney, which is not fun, by the way. If anybody thinks working for Disney would be fun, just think of what it would be like working with a bunch of lawyers. I think everybody who works at Disney in corporate is a lawyer first and foremost. But that was great, you know, real good formative experience. And then wound up that studio got eaten by another company. They moved an office to Australia. I said, hey, babe, let's move back to Australia. So Sydney, that was beautiful. And then just as I was about to pull the pin on working in that world, because it was not my world, talk about disconnected from nature. One day the boss came in and she said, hey, Branden, we've got a new client. I want you to run the project. I said, great, what is it? And she said, BHP diamonds. And I said, you're kidding, right? And she said, no. So anyway, I went on from there. We drove around the country, incredible country, literally circumnavigated Australia. I'll never forget it. It's something I hope I have a chance to do with my kids before they flee the nest. And then settled in Victoria, in country Victoria. With my design skills, I started up a little design shop, and I was basically doing websites and toy catalogs and being in the CFA and fighting fires. I was really into the local community, just loved it. And everything was fine. And Michael Brune, who now runs the Sierra Club, used to run, as a big organization in the United States, the Sierra Club, it's like 1 million members.
Wow.
He was running Rainforest Action Network, calls me up, says, hey, it's Mike, how you doing? I said, great, what are you doing? He said, well, we're looking for a development director. And I said, what's that? And we laughed, and he said, it's great. You get to go to parties and meet really nice, wealthy people and get them to sign checks to help protect the environment. I said, well, that sounds like a great job.
Sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. I said, actually, I can't. You know, I got too much going on, just had a kid, blah, blah, blah. I said, how about I call you back in a year? So long story short, calls me back in a year. I go through the interview process. Next thing you know, we're living in San Francisco again, and I'm working for Rainforest Action Network. And that was a wonderful experience with great people doing really powerful work to hold companies accountable for their impact on the environment, with a specialty focusing on banks and big financial institutions. That was good fun. Yeah. You can call me anytime. I keep going.
Yeah, but this is fascinating, man, because, you know, like I always say, the superheroes make no sense until you understand where they've come from. And when you can kind of get people. Hey?
Or even the regular people who, you know,
all the regular people, or the villains, or anybody. But when we understand where they're coming from and what's driving them, I mean, it's a reality check too, because I get to get a sense of how real is it, and we go, because a lot of people are doing it for the fame, or doing it for the money, or doing it for all kinds of different things. And you go, well, what were those formative, you know, those moments that kind of touched your life? And when we get that, we go, well, of course, then this is who you are, and this is what we're doing, and it all makes sense. Until that, you know, question marks. So far, so good.
All right.
But I'm
well, so working for RAN was really one of the greatest times, I think, of my professional life in terms of learning so much and being a part of an organization that was really on the cutting edge and driving this wave for positive environmental impact and change. And Mike went on to go to the Sierra Club. I'd been there for 5 years, and I wasn't seeing my kids. You know, this was one of those 60, 70-hour-a-week jobs. So I downshifted a little bit and worked at a smaller organization. It wasn't quite in line with me. Shifted over to working for lots of environmental nonprofits, basically doing consulting and engagement. You know, how do you tell your story? How do you bring in enough funds to be able to do your work and grow? And I really found a powerful niche in engaging people as, it's not quite the right word, but it was kind of evangelical almost, you know, like I really had the opportunity to step on the stump with the Lorax and, you know, encourage people to do the right thing, you know, unless
the trees.
Yeah, right. I speak for the trees. And, you know, it was incredible. Like, that's an incredible responsibility. And it's something I've always taken really seriously. And, you know, I did the contracting for a couple of years, and then I sat on the board of a really terrific nonprofit in California called Amazon Watch. And Amazon Watch works in the Amazon, basically to help support, promote, and stand with indigenous peoples in order for them to either establish or enforce sovereignty when it comes to protecting and owning their own lands. And if you look globally, if you look at wildlands in the world, 85% of them are in indigenous hands. So if you think, oh, wow, 85% of the lands that haven't been trashed are being cared for by indigenous peoples, they're obviously doing something right. So Amazon Watch throws their weight behind indigenous peoples, particularly in, so Amazon countries, Ecuador, Peru, Colombia, Bolivia, Brazil. And it was great. You know, I got to work with really amazing people, real heroes. You know, there's one community called Seriaku, which the people who live there call themselves the children of the jaguar. And Seriaku is at the apex of the world. And they have this very deep relationship to nature, and they fight for it every day. They're generating people who go out into politics in Ecuador and are raising awareness and pushing the environmental and the indigenous sovereignty agenda so that they can protect nature. And there's there's this whole movement for the rights of nature, and there's this whole movement around how we live with nature in a way that is harmonious. And the people of Seriaku actually were critical in authoring a document called Kausak Sacha, and it really basically means good living. And it was their manifesto of how we live in a way that feels good, is good, creates good. And it was all about treating nature as sacred and working with nature and protecting and making nature more whole. And if you look at any of the documents online relating to rights of nature, you'll see Kausak Sache. You'll see Seriaku, you'll see Buen Vivir, or good living. And yeah, they're really amazing people. I'm really grateful to have had the chance to work with them. That's actually, I wear this bracelet just to kind of keep me.
I was going to ask you, yeah, what's that about?
Yeah, it's one of the things that just keeps me connected to the Amazon and the people who are fighting there every day. You know, it's no easy thing. You've got such challenges with, you know, complicit, corrupt governments. It's rare that you find a good government, and then you find a good government, and then the bad guys come in and overthrow that. And it's a constant battle. You know, I've worked with communities who've been infiltrated by agents of oil companies who go in to change the vibe, to change the desires of the community, so that they are dissatisfied with their leadership who isn't working with the oil companies because they want the things that the oil company agents are promising them. Like, you know, we'll get you a new boat, you know, so that it's easier for you to get up and down the river, and we'll get you a health clinic. Anyway, that stuff never works out okay. And it's the people who continually fight for the forest down there and for the people that I have the greatest admiration and yeah, anyway, that was a really important, profound part of my life. And I was really grateful to get to take my daughter with me on one of my trips down to the Amazon. And, you know, it changed her life. She was 12. And to this day, she's an ardent environmentalist. She has a real sense of how fortunate we are and that we all have, you know, an obligation to take care of nature. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions? Sorry, I'm almost current.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we did 3.5 years in the tropics in Indonesia, based out of Bali, with my wife and 3 kids, and having that, you know, running around barefoot, climbing palm trees, jumping in the creek every day, going down to the reef and swimming around and meeting the local people and climbing trees and living in the jungle. They're not like the other kids at school. We're back in Brisbane now, and they got a different. You know, I mean, everyone notices. Everyone said, they go, wow, your kids are like, what is it? Well, it's connection to nature. That's what it is. It's connection to who they are. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, you must be amazing parents. They're so well behaved. I'm like, they're kids who are connected to who they are and to where they're from. And like, that's how kids are, right? And when kids are running around being brats, like, it's connection that's the issue. Always connection. You look at a light bulb sitting on a table, and you're over here flicking the light switch, wondering why it's not lighting up, right? There's nothing wrong with the light bulb. It's just not connected. You plug it back into the power, it'll light up the whole room, no problem, right? But connection is the key here.
That is perfect. And that goes back to the first thing we were talking about. And that's a perfect example. Your kids are connected and they know who they are. And I was talking to a good friend of mine who runs an organization that works with indigenous peoples in the Amazon the other day. And he just had this powerful epiphany about the crucial, integral importance of remembering who we are and the role that nature plays in that. And if we lose our relationship with nature, it's easy to forget who we are. And it's just, you know, we lose that connection. It's the light bulb unplugged.
Yeah, no power there. So tell me, how do we get from there to Rainforest Rescue? We're gonna finish this story, Branden. Oh, good.
Okay, so, and then I was at Amazon Watch, and then I went to another organization, great conference, lots of fun. Wasn't really quite where I was at, and wound up going back into consulting while still being on the board of Amazon Watch. I'm still on the board. I'm really grateful to be a part of that. Up until a year and a half ago, when I saw this job advertised and it said, wood suit environmentalist with strong fundraising background. I know someone like that, I said, and it was focused on rainforests. So Amazon Watch, Rainforest Action Network, Rainforest Rescue, and just met the team, the board, fell in love with the Daintree. You know, Rainforest Rescue has worked locally here in Northern Rivers, but primarily has done so much in the Daintree. It's the world's oldest rainforest, the longest evolving rainforest. You know, it's much, much more ancient than the Amazon. It's Australia's largest rainforest. It's Australia's most biodiverse bioregion. It's amazing. And the opportunity to be part of protecting that and promoting its importance and just the magic of such an amazing ecosystem. Like that's worth getting up for early every day. Like it's fantastic. So yeah, you know, it was a lot of moving back and forth over the years, and now I'm really grateful to be here.
So what year was that? When did you start with Rainforest Rescue?
Last year.
Cool. So that was 99, so 98, 2008, 2018. Oh my God. 2019 now.
Very good, I know, it happens to me too. It's amazing how fast life goes. And you have kids and it just speeds up. Every kid you have increases the tempo of your life by 30%, I think.
Ah, that's because I've noticed that, but I didn't know there was a formula for it, but I totally get that.
Yeah, I just made that up, but you can use it.
No, there's maths. I'm sure that's science. I'm sure there's a study that will back that up.
It rings true for me.
Totally. Tell me more about what's happening in the Daintree, specifically the threats to the Daintree, and what's happening up there that needs protecting. Like what's going on?
Righto.
Because it's been there for millions of years. Like what the heck? Just let it be. Should be fine. A bunch of trees and some animals running around.
Yeah, you would think. And it's amazing when you think about this constant drive of development and converting land into assets that equate to, you know, financial numbers. And you think, wow, one day, what if there were no wild places left? What if there were no animals? And, you know, you hear the stats on, you know, species loss and animal numbers going down. And it's like, oh, we should probably stop turning nature into money and, you know, shopping malls and parking lots and holiday homes.
We just established it is 2019, as we've just, you know, kind of got clear on, which is great. And, you know, money is how humans do it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it hasn't always been like that. Probably won't always be like that. There's always been some form of exchange, but for now, it's you know, dollars and yen and pesos and euros. That, you know, that's how we do it, right? So if we're not finding ways to maximize that and do that, then what are you suggesting?
Well, I think I don't have a problem with money. If it weren't for money and the generosity of people or the commitment of people who care about the work that we're doing, we wouldn't be able to protect as much of the Daintree as we have, or to do the restoration work that we do. I think it really comes back to balance. And I think it comes back to being connected and remembering who you are. You know, you can talk to anyone in the world, they're dealing with similar problems. It doesn't matter how much money they have at the end of the day. And I know plenty of people who have tremendous amounts of capital. They're just like you and me. And, you know, sometimes it's that balance. And I think because of the way modern economics values things, you know, there's just no balance. There was that great film, it might have been in the 70s, maybe it was the 80s, Koyaanisqatsi, Life Out of Balance. I think that was one of the first things that clued me into the contrast between modern society and nature, and how modern society is just like going so fast, and to what end? You know, if you look at the amount of garbage we create, the amount of plastic we leave everywhere, the amount that we don't reuse and we upgrade and throw away, it's obviously out of balance. So I don't have a problem with the money thing. I just really have a problem with people not knowing when to stop. And I don't mean people like you and me. I mean the people who are driving, you know, a Donnie. And that's a great example. Really? Is that really necessary? How many of these do we need? And isn't it climate crazy out there right now? I think we're trying to get back to balance. And, you know, the Daintree, you asked what's going on up there, right? So back during the Joe B.L.Q. Peterson government, some brilliant developer talked them into subdividing the lower Daintree. Now, the upper Daintree was created as a National Park World Heritage Area. The lower Daintree, which is in between the upper and the Great Barrier Reef, was subdivided. And we're talking about this incredible ancient ecosystem that we still don't fully understand at all. I mean, we know how it works, and, you know, but if you send a team of scientists in there, they would come out with new species, potentially new cures for diseases, new medicines. Who knows? But that wasn't a part of the economic equation. It was like, hey, subdivide. And there was an airport that they built, and they had these big plans. Fortunately, it's really tough to live up in a rainforest, particularly up there. And a lot of the people who bought in and were going to have a holiday home, or were going to live there, decided they didn't really like it as much as they thought they would. It was more a romantic notion than a really great idea. I mean, there are plenty of people who live up there, some terrific people who are utterly committed to it and really appreciate the beauty. But for most people, it's not where you really want to live. And if you go up there now, you'll see the airport is just covered with weeds, and nature is slowly starting to take it back. So fortunately, it's not like there's this great big property boom, but there is development happening. There are 180 properties that we're aware of that are not developed, still have biologically, ecologically beautiful rainforest intact that we are seeking to buy back and protect. And if we can, the way we do our work is we identify places like that. Now it's ecologically rich, biodiverse, it hits all of the boxes on our scorecards. Then we find out who owns those properties, and we approach them. We say, hey, if you're not going to do anything with this, we would like to put it back into nature. Would you be willing to sell it to us? And 35 times out of however many that we've tried, it works. And we've purchased back 35 blocks in the Daintree. Actually, we're working on our 35th. We've got 34.
Wow, cool, man. That's awesome.
Well, it's great, and it's really great because we tend to put them together. We try to put them together, and we create nature corridors or wildlife corridors. So we do nature refuges, and then we also try to clump them together, so create these greater areas. And when they're back onto the national park, it just increases the national park's footprint, protects that habitat for endangered animals like the amazing southern cassowary and Bennett's tree kangaroo and the spectacled flying foxes and the musky rat kangaroo. There's so many amazing animals up there that depend upon it. And right now, if you were to go up there, what do you think the #1 threat to cassowaries is?
With cassowaries, like this guy looking over your shoulder back here. Other side. This big guy.
That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
So the #1 threat to cassowaries has got to be like foxes or dingoes or, that's my guess. And it's not natural predators, is it?
No, it's cars.
Oh.
Yeah. Cars and dogs. Dogs would be #2. But you've got this amazing ecosystem, and people have been inserted into it. And we feel like whenever we rescue a property and turn it into a refuge, not only are we increasing that habitat footprint that's protected, but that's one less car or one less group of cars and less dogs and less threats to nature up there. And you go up there and you spend some time, and it's very different than the Amazon. The Amazon is, I don't know, have you ever been to the Amazon?
I've never been. I haven't been to South America. I'm super keen to go.
Been
all around the world.
Right, but the rainforests where you were up in Indonesia, they have a certain feel to them. And, and it's been a long time since I was there, but I don't remember feeling like they were particularly dangerous. They just seemed kind of amazing and full of life.
Yeah,
and
I did a lot of mountain biking. Like, you're a mountain biker. So we spent a lot of time up in the volcanoes in the north, a lot of mountain biking, lots of downhilling. And every altitude change, the forest changes completely, and it's magnificent. And you can have a nice long downhill run. At the top, it's like forest and almost I can't remember the word, but it's like forests, right? Temperate forest. And as you come down, and by the bottom, it's just like lush tropical rainforest, and it just changes all the way through, and the soil changes.
Yeah.
But it's a good time in North Queensland. So you're right, it's a completely different vibe, different feel. It's different. Right? It's just different.
It feels to me, so like when I'm in the Amazon, I kind of feel like I need to watch my back. And you definitely need to where you put your hands or where you step. I mean, they have ants that will take you down. Whereas in the Daintree, there are things to watch out for, but there's something so ancient. It's almost like it's this very different frequency, this very slow context. And it slows me down, and it's a very peaceful place. And it's really an amazing, magical place. And it's so weird to be up there and then to say stop in at the hotel, at the pub, right? Like there's this pub in the middle of this amazing place. And then there are tourist attractions, which are great. I'm so for ecotourism. It's like, how else are you going to connect to nature? And the Daintree isn't one of the most accessible national parks in the world. Like you can't go in there, go to a trailhead and start hiking and camp somewhere. It's pretty inaccessible. So for people to be able to experience it, you need things like, there's just so many cool things that people are doing up there. My favorite place up there is the Daintree Discovery Center, which is the coolest. It's an interpretive center, really. It's like, this is what the Daintree is about, but it's huge. It's so rich. And I probably learned more about the Daintree by going to the Daintree Discovery Center than anything else I've done. It's a great place. So getting people up there as tourists, that's fabulous. That's what we want. People need to appreciate this and celebrate it and vote for policies that are that connection. Yeah. Anyway, back to the threats that the Daintree is facing. It really comes down to development and trying to get as many of those blocks protected as we can, as soon as we can, so that they don't get developed on. When I'm up there, I do note the different properties where you see people putting in house pads or bulldozers at work. And that's not what we want to see. And one of the other challenges up there, of course, is areas that have been degraded through different kinds of agriculture, say cattle farming or cane farming. And we have a native nursery up there where our nursery manager is a bit of a ranger, and she goes out and sources seeds from different properties that we've protected and brings them back. We propagate, I think, over 250 different types of plants at our nursery. And when we do our restoration work, we do it in such a way as to try to create the best situation for the plants to emerge as a rainforest again. So it's not like, just put stuff everywhere. It's there's a plan to it. And we try to reduce the amount of time and energy spent on trying to fight back the weeds by doing a special planting pattern. They're not too far away from each other, so we get canopy closure really rapidly, in a best case around 2 years. And then it's really on its own again. Yeah, it's quite amazing. And stuff grows fast up there, but if you don't stay on it, weeds will take over. And we're doing a cane field restoration right now. It's the nightwings. You can actually look up nightwings.com.au. It might be .org.au, but it's a fruit bat rescue center. And the owner is wonderful, utterly committed to the bats, utterly committed to nature. And she's working with us to restore this entire cane plantation into rainforest.
Just checking it out. I'm going to have a look at this. Yeah, I've got it here. Let's have a look. So talk me through this. I'm going to screen share. And this is share. Yeah, what's going on here? Entire screen. Share. Yeah, share. Share. Keep pushing share. There we go. Share.
Hey.
Nightwings. You see that all right?
Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, stay on nature's
so
side.
This is nightwings.com.au.
Oh, thank you.
Cool name.
Yeah, it is cool.
On nature's side.
Yep.
Dream come true. An extraordinary environment. You're supporting Nightwing Rainforest. So is this a rainforest rescue project, or is this?
We're partnered. We're partnered with them. Yeah,
okay.
It's a really great project. In fact, I think it even said there. It doesn't matter. Our land manager up in the Daintree, who also works closely with our nursery manager, spends a fair amount of his time making sure that Nightwings is coming along okay. We have a lot of properties that we need to make sure, we don't have, say, wild pig problems or squatters or people growing things that they shouldn't be growing on our properties. But for the most part, we're really working on making sure that the restoration work that we do not only catches hold, but really thrives. I think up in the Daintree, we did, I think we planted 150,000 trees up there. And then we've got over 300,000 trees overall. We worked in subtropical Australia too. We did a lot of tree planting around here for years. And then we've also done some work overseas. But all up, Rainforest Rescue has put over 300,000 trees in the ground. And when you look at what can people do right now, given the big issues like climate change, it's like, well, plant some trees to start with. And
that's always one, right?
Right. Yeah, no, and it's great. I mean, you plant a tree and you come back, the next year and it's a little bit bigger, and then pretty soon, wow, remember when you were little Bob and we planted that tree together? Well, now it's bigger than both of us together. No, it's amazing. And you see things like we did a project. It's so funny. I really need to find a way to celebrate these properties a little bit better than by calling them lot number. But lot 46 used to belong to the infamous Christopher Skase. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He would show up at court, with his oxygen mask and his wheelchair because he was too sick.
He's very unwell.
I'm sure he's doing fine somewhere. Anyway, all of the palm trees that you see going into Port Douglas up north, just north of Cairns, those came from lot 46, which was Christopher Skase's palm plantation. And when Rainforest Rescue found it, it was a derelict. It was a mess. It was, I think we pulled out 180 tons of rubbish, dozens of old car hulks, and weeds galore. Like, that place was a mess. And now it is so magnificent and beautiful as a restoration story that we were featured on ABC, Far North, and Landline about a month ago. You can actually see it on our website if you go to our blog. It was amazing, like just to see what a group of people over 10 years could do. Like literally 10 years, it went from this mess to rainforests that we're going to apply for wildlife refuge status next year. So it really does make a difference, and it's not hard.
That's a lot of work though, right? That doesn't, I mean, there's a lot of conscious intention and work put into that, right?
A lot of time and money too. But you know, it's so interesting when you look at the different opportunities for what work is available for people, and it really heartens me to see how many people just have started their own regeneration businesses and how many regeneration projects there are out there. And you know, it is good for the economy and it's good for the planet. And there are a lot of examples like that. And it's like when we go back to, you know, it's all so bad. It's like, well, yeah, but it's also so good. You know, it's changing. Things are changing. And, you know, just one little thing every day, whatever you can do. Like you said, it was pretty intentional, my life, to put me in a position like this. You don't just kind of say, hey, I'm going to go do that. You kind of have to build up to it. So I'm lucky in that I've moved in this direction for a long time. But everybody can do something. Everybody can make a difference every single day. And if that's, you know, volunteering for something that you care about, if that's contributing to a local organization that you care about, whatever you do that is meaningful. You know, you've heard that great question. Tell me if you haven't heard this one. What is the meaning of life?
That's never crossed my mind.
Right.
Yes, it did. For the last 20 years, contemplating it.
Well, I think it's so obvious what the answer to that question is. And it's funny because for a long time I was like, what is the meaning of life? It's to have a meaningful life, like to create a meaningful life. And how do you do that? Well, do the things that are meaningful to you.
Things that are meaningful.
Yeah, identify what's meaningful and do it. And I feel, again, you know, I feel really lucky to have the freedom to do something meaningful to me full time and to be, it's amazing. And yet I also contribute to other organizations that I care about. I don't have time to go, with Greenpeace now to go save the whales or, you know, stop climate change, stop coal, but I'll send them some money every month. And I don't have the time to go down to the Amazon and work with the indigenous peoples there, but I can give Amazon Watch some money every month. And, you know, you spread it around. And that in itself is a meaningful act. And I really, my life was really transformed by being the development director for Rainforest Action Network. You know, I showed up and it's like, okay, I've got this $2.5 million budget to fill and a staff. I had 7 people working in the fundraising department. And it makes me laugh now because, you know, now at Rainforest Rescue, there's like 2 of us in the office and we're hopefully going to get an admin person and we're hiring for a fundraising coordinator. So it's amazing how much we do. But, you know, I was just a beginner and I met a wonderful person who's a well-known fundraiser and just an amazing human being. Her name is Lynn Twist.
Oh, yeah.
And for her, you know about Lynn? So Lynn wrote a book and I recommend everyone read it. It's called The Soul of Money. And she sees fundraising as, you know, really holy work. And it's really about helping people find meaning in their lives through the power of their financial assets, resources. It's their financial energy, and it's our financial energy that we can use to make a difference, to do things that are meaningful, to support actions that are meaningful to us. So just that right there, that's building our legacy. And it's an honor to get to be on the pointy end of that and to say, hey, look, I've got a really cool thing for you. Would you like some? And the people who get it are so grateful, and I'm so grateful. And together, we're making the world a better place. And that's meaningful. That's beautiful.
Tell me, if someone, I mean, if I'm watching it, I'm in, like I'm going, this is great. I get you and where you're coming from. It totally makes sense. It resonates. I can see you're, you know, been on this for years, and this is your journey. This is your path, and you've really found your thing. And then I get all this amazing work that you're doing through Rainforest Rescue and the Rainforest Rescue is doing, and the different, you know, the significance of the Daintree, especially. than the work that Rainforest Rescue is doing to preserve rainforest, those eco-sensitive regions forever. I think that's so cool. And then I go, well, look, contribution is so important to living a meaningful life. Tell me about some of the, if you've got any projects happening right now in Rainforest Rescue that people can give to, that I can give to, that we can support and get behind. Like, give me some specific details, because, if anytime anyone's giving money, if I'm giving money, it's got to go to someone I trust. That's the first thing. So we've got that one. But then I want to go, well, what's the difference this is going to make? Like, is this just going to, buy some fat cat in some charity Mercedes-Benz, or is this actually going to make a difference to something? You know what I mean? Like, that's. Tell me about.
I didn't get into this for the money. I just thought,
I can see that. I know that's not you. I get that.
So we do. We have ongoing projects. We have 2 program areas at the moment. New things coming up, but at the moment, and what we've been standing strong on for years, and which is seeing slowly this turnover in the Daintree, is our Buyback and Protect Forever program and our Plant a Rainforest program. So, pretty self-explanatory. The Buyback and Protect Forever, that's where we identify properties, engage the landowners. They say, sure, we'll sell it to you for nature. And then we go out and we raise funds to support that. And we're just today launching our campaign to secure our 35th property in the Daintree. And it has this really powerful name. It's Lot 27. The
red one.
I know. Yeah, it's the red one right there. That's great. So Lot 29 next to it, Lot 33, Lot 32, and Lot 30, those are part of, and Lot 38, those are part of our Cape Kimberley Wildlife Corridor. And Lot 27, with its connectivity up to the top there, that's actually the Daintree National Park. So it would qualify as part of that wildlife corridor. So basically, we're creating this greater footprint. And I think lots 34 and 35, if I'm not incorrect, actually belong to Rainforest Trust, which is a terrific organization. And they're not actively doing anything in Australia at the moment, but we're hoping that they're going to come back on board and we can work together. Their CEO, Mark Gruen, is a really excellent person. But anyway, a lot of the properties, you can't get them. Someone doesn't want to sell them, or you can't find the person. I tell you, Lot 31, that's the one I want next. And I've reached out to the landowners through their legal representatives twice, and I still haven't heard back. I may just front up when I'm in Sydney at the property management, whatever, but just to say, hey, we really want to grow this. But anyway, so Lot 27.
Right here, and then I guess 28 will be next on your list, and these ones are already with the Trust.
All of them.
What's this bit here? What's this big stripe here, right across the middle?
That big stripe is Cape Tribulation Road. So that is actually what will take you to the ferry to the south, and it will take you up north, carrying on all the way up to Cape York if you go through. And then just
that goes north, and then east goes south.
Yep. And if you look at just next to it, there's actually an access road to get to all these properties. So if we can get Lot 31, that swath there, we actually will be able to close it off. So you can see that Lot 30 has that little bit jutting out from it.
Yeah, here, yep.
Yep, that designates the end of the access road that goes all the way up to where Lot 37 is. And if we can get Lot 31, we can close that access road off and we can replant that. So that's an exciting one we really want to do. But first, Lot 27, this is
already nature refuge. If you get all these properties, you can shut this road and take this land as well, and you get this whole chunk.
That's what we're working on. So that's a cool one. Really love that one. Man. Yeah, it's cool. It's good. I like what we do.
What's doing here. I see what's going on.
Right on. So Lot 27, that whole area is, it's obviously part of this big bioregion. It's backing up to the national park. It's got nature reserves around it. And we just want to reduce the number of cassowary fatalities, protect the habitat for all of the different animals, from the wampu pigeons to the musky rat kangaroos. It's just a beautiful place. And the owners are willing to sell it to us at a fair price, and we just need to raise the money between now and January 1st. So between now and January 1st, we have a goal of raising $160,000. Part of those funds would go towards our nursery operations and our land management operations and some of the work that we do here in the office. We're not buying a Mercedes-Benz, but we are paying for the internet, and we are, paying rent on this office. But our costs are really low.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to do, we've just relaunched our website. I'm glad you're looking at the website, because this is the new website, first showing ever. So
this
good.
is it, rescue.org.au. Show me around. I'm on lot 27. So there it is.
So if you go up
what's the size of this red chunk here? How big is lot 27? Just to give us an idea.
That's about 2 hectares.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right, beautiful. It's a good chunk of land, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good chunk of land. And, there are some other big, beautiful areas up in the Daintree that I would love to see us start to restore. There's an area that's massive. It's been cattle land for years, and it shouldn't be.
Guys.
I know, they're beautiful.
Cutest.
Just last year with the heat and the great impact it had on the spectacled flying foxes, they're now on the endangered list. Last year before that happened, they were on the threatened list. But yeah, no, they're in big trouble. So another reason to support night wings, right? Want to make sure that they've got habitat and people who care for them. Yeah.
And here's our cassowary. Beautiful. Just magnificent, aren't they?
They're amazing. I saw 2 cassowary last time I was up in the Daintree, and I saw them crossing a road, and I'm just grateful that I was driving, conservatively. And, you hear about cassowaries being hit every year. And, the Shire puts up signs and they put down speed bumps. And, I think that we could do more to help protect them, at least raise awareness. But, a lot of people just fly through there, and it's often not the tourists. Oftentimes it's locals who are just rushing to get from here or there. And it's not really a place that is a great place for people.
So anyone can go here and give money to this?
Yep.
Looks like there's 2 ways. We can do a one-off donation or a monthly donation.
Yep. And if you scroll down, oh, there you go. If you click on that donate now one, that one will take you to the campaign page, and you can take meaningful action. Do something that's going to help write your positive legacy. What did you do while you were on the planet? How did you make it better? Well, this is one of the things that we did.
Beautiful. Oh, look at that.
And you get to look at a picture of a Ulysses butterfly.
Ulysses blue.
They're so beautiful. Yeah, they're so beautiful.
One-off donation, monthly donation. Oh, look, you got all the different amounts there. Well, so it's not even, you're looking for 160 grand, but you're not asking for a lot of money.
No, well, there are a lot of people. It all adds up. It's amazing, the power of the many. If 1 million people gave us $1, we would rescue a lot of rainforest. And there's a whole lot. Yeah, well, there are some big properties also that are up for sale or could be, but for those kinds of purchases, we need to raise $300,000, $400,000, $1 million. So I have plans moving forward as we start to increase having the new website. I'm hopeful is going to help engage more people to listen to what we're offering and to join us. And if we can grow, then there's no end to the amount of rainforest we can save.
That's what I'm talking about, baby.
Right on.
Nice. Branden, this has been freaking awesome, man. I love the work you're doing. I'm going to get behind this, support this every way I can. So thank you so much for being you and doing what you do and for taking the time to share. Love the new website, by the way. It's looking fantastic. And tell me, I'm going to finish up on one last question. If I mean, I don't even want to think about what would happen if we lost the rainforest. You talk about, you know, we've cut down the last tree, and a lot of people, and it's really common, a lot of it's because there's people on the planet right now who are consciously, you know, on purpose causing more death and devastation and destruction to our natural ecosystems than has ever been possible in the entire history of humanity. And they're doing it on purpose, mostly for money right now, today, that's happening. And at the same time, for people like you and the partners that you're working with, and there's so many amazing organizations that are causing more restoration, more regeneration, more rejuvenation than has ever been necessary in the entire history of humanity, right? And we've got both of those things are true today, right now. Now, a lot of people kind of looking at this and looking at that, kind of hanging in the balance, going, which way is it going to go? You know, like, how are we going to make it? And like people like my sister who go, we're not going to make it. I mean, we've already passed the tipping point. No one's backing off the gas. Forget it. There's no hope. We're done. And I go, geez, you know, like, what's your response to something like that, right? She's going, well, obviously, I'm not going to have children. I wouldn't bring children into a world that's fundamentally doomed. Like, that would be completely irresponsible. And I go, and not that my own sister can think like this, but she's intelligent. She's well connected to her community. And what percentage of the population is she representing with that kind of thought? And I go, well, it's too late for me. I already got kids, right? So I just decided myself, we're going to make it, right? And I'm going to do everything I can to support the people who are making the difference. I'm the marketing and sales guy, so I'm going to shine my light and you know, do everything in my power to support people who are doing good stuff. And I'm going to seek you out. I'm going to find you, Branden Barber, and I'm going to go, this is awesome. People, get on board with this, right? So for people who are kind of hanging in the balance and not really sure which way it's going to go and if it's even worth it, or if we're already doomed, or if we've already made it, or not really sure, what's your take on all of that? How do you kind of look at that whole conversation, and where are you at with that?
Well, it's really not as bad as the news wants us to believe it is. And there are whole countries moving forward with new policies to try to reverse the impact on climate and to try to increase the amount of protected habitat and biodiversity. You know, the news is there to scare us, and the news is there to make us worry and keep watching the news. So stop watching the news. Definitely, we're in trouble, and I'm not trying to sugarcoat this, but we can do what we can do. And, you know, when you look at it, we may talk about a globalized society and we're all connected, but when it comes down to it, you know, I live here in northern New South Wales, and, you know, I can have an impact here in my local community, and I'm doing work in the Daintree, and I'm blessed as a result. There are so many good people doing such good work, so many great organizations that are out there fighting every day for a better world. And if you look at the people who are profiting from the destruction of the environment, and if you follow the money, it's not that many people. So at a certain point, how is that going to change? I don't want to speculate, but we don't do injustice very well. And over time, tyrants haven't fared very well either. And I really believe that we're supposed to be here now, and that it's part of our job to take note of what needs to be fixed and what's not working, and to do whatever we can to fix it, and to just be grateful for every day and every breath and every time we put our feet in the sand or in the dirt or in the sea, and plant a tree, take care of your neighbor, make a contribution to an organization you care about, vote for whoever is going to help protect the environment, and, you know, don't be complacent, be an active participant in your life. And if caring for the environment is something that turns you on and you recognize as a meaningful way of spending your time and energy and money, do it. But as long as you do something, that's all we can do. And it's more than enough. It's more than enough. But we just gotta quit watching the news, man. Plant a rainforest. I think you muted yourself there, Patrick. Did you mute yourself? I was working on my lip reading. I was like, thank you. Good.
Thank you so much, Branden. Yeah, not another word. I mean, that was just a beautiful way to wrap this all up. And what an amazing conversation. I'm so grateful for you taking the time and for the work that you're doing, and absolutely cheering you on here all the way. If there's anything I can personally do for you guys and you and Rainforest Rescue now and in the future, I'm 100% behind you and here all the way. And to everybody who's watching and listening and tuning in for that, check this out. rainforestrescue.org.au/lot27.
Lot-27.
Lot-27. Make a difference. Do something meaningful, right? You'll feel so good for it. I promise.
Well, thanks, Patrick. We really appreciate it, man.
Such a pleasure, brother. We'll speak soon.
Thanks.